Welcome back to Easy English Talk Podcast.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Easy English Talk Podcast. Priya, hey, how are you doing today?
Ryan, I'm doing really well, thank you. I had a quiet morning, made some tea, and just felt ready for a good conversation today.
That sounds really nice. I had a busy morning myself, but I'm feeling good now that we're here together. There is something calming about sitting down and just talking, you know?
Absolutely. And honestly, this is one of my favorite parts of the day, just having a real, relaxed conversation about something meaningful.
I love that. Now, before we get started, I want to say a warm welcome to everyone listening or watching right now. It really means a lot that you are here with us today.
Yes, welcome everyone. Whether this is your first time or you have been with us for a while, we are really glad you chose to spend your time with us.
And speaking of that, I have a little question for you. Where are you listening or watching from right now? Are you at home, at the gym, maybe on your commute?
I always love reading those comments. People write in from so many different places around the world, and it always makes us smile.
It really does. And here's another question I want to ask you directly. Is this podcast helping you improve your English? Are you feeling more confident, more fluent, or more comfortable with listening?
That is such an important question. We put a lot of care into making each episode clear, simple, and genuinely useful for your English learning journey.
So please, drop a comment and let us know. Your feedback helps us grow, and it also helps other learners find this podcast. Today, we are discussing what happens if you accidentally eat or drink while fasting.
Oh, this is such a relatable topic. I think almost everyone who has tried fasting has had this moment at least once.
Exactly. And if you've ever fasted and then suddenly realized you just took a sip of coffee out of pure habit, you are going to want to stay until the end of this episode.
By the end of today's conversation, you will understand what actually happens to your body, whether your fast is truly broken, and what you should do next. This is practical, real information that can really change how you approach fasting.
So let us get into it. First, let us talk about why this happens in the first place. Why do people accidentally eat or drink while fasting?
The biggest reason is simply habit. Our bodies and our minds are used to certain routines. You wake up, you make coffee. You sit at your desk, you grab a snack. These actions are almost automatic.
Right. It's like your body is running on autopilot. You don't even think about it until after it's already happened.
Exactly. And habits are very powerful. Scientists who study behavior say that a huge portion of what we do every day is not a conscious decision. It's just a habit playing out.
So when you are fasting and you reach for that glass of juice without thinking, you're not being careless. Your brain is just doing what it always does at that time of day.
That's a really kind and accurate way to look at it. It removes a lot of the guilt that people feel when this happens, which is really important.
And the guilt can be a big problem, right? People feel like they have completely failed, and sometimes they just give up on the fast entirely.
Yes, that all or nothing thinking is very common and very damaging. One small accidental bite does not erase everything you have done, but we'll get more into that shortly.
Let us also talk about the different types of fasting, because the answer to what happens when you accidentally eat really does depend on what kind of fast you are doing.
That is a great point. There are several different reasons people fast. Some people fast for health reasons, like intermittent fasting. Some fast for religious reasons, like Ramadan or other spiritual practices. And some people fast before a medical test or procedure.
Each of these has different rules and different consequences when something is accidentally consumed, so it is not a one-size-fits-all answer.
Exactly. Let us start with intermittent fasting, since that is probably the most common type people are doing for health and weight management goals these days.
Intermittent fasting, for anyone who is not familiar, is a way of eating where you restrict your food intake to a certain window of time each day, and you fast for the rest.
A very common pattern is the 16-8 method. You fast for 16 hours and eat during an 8-hour window. So, for example, you might eat between noon and 8 in the evening.
And during that fasting window, the goal is to keep your body in a state where it is burning stored fat for energy rather than relying on food you just ate.
So what happens if you accidentally drink a small amount of something, say a sip of juice or a bite of fruit, during that fasting window?
Well, it depends on what you consumed. Plain water does not break a fast. Black coffee and plain tea with no milk or sugar are also generally considered safe during a fast.
But if you drank something with calories, like juice, a smoothie, milk, or even a flavored drink, then yes, technically your fast has been interrupted.
Now here's the important part. The word technically really matters here, because a small accidental intake is very different from a full meal.
If you accidentally took one sip of orange juice, your body received maybe 15 to 20 calories. That's not going to completely undo the hours of fasting you have already done.
Your insulin levels will rise slightly in response to that sugar, and your body will briefly stop burning fat. But this effect is relatively short-lived if you stop there and continue fasting.
So the practical advice from most nutrition experts is this: if it was a small, accidental intake, acknowledge it, do not panic, and simply continue your fast from that point onward.
You do not need to restart the clock or give up for the day. Just continue as if that small moment didn't happen and let your body get back into its fasting rhythm.
Now, if you accidentally ate a full snack or a meal, that is a different situation. Your body will shift fully into a fed state, meaning digestion kicks in and fat burning pauses.
In that case, you have two honest choices. You can accept that today's fast did not go as planned and restart tomorrow. Or you can adjust your eating window for that day and move on.
Neither option is a failure. Life is not perfectly controlled, and anyone who has tried intermittent fasting for a long time will tell you that there are good days and less good days.
That is such a healthy mindset. Progress over perfection, as they say. Now let's talk about what actually happens inside the body when you break a fast accidentally, even with something small.
When you are in a fasted state, your body has shifted away from using glucose as its primary fuel. Your insulin levels are low, your body is accessing stored fat, and in longer fasts, your body may even be producing ketones.
Ketones are small molecules that your liver makes from fat. They are an alternative fuel source that your brain and body can use when glucose is not available.
When you eat or drink something with carbohydrates or sugar, your body detects the incoming energy. Your pancreas releases insulin to manage that energy, and the fat-burning process slows or stops temporarily.
For a very small intake, like one bite or one sip, this response is brief. Your body processes that small amount relatively quickly and can return to a fasted state within 30 minutes to an hour.
For a larger intake, the process takes longer. Your body may stay in a fed state for 2 to 4 hours or even more depending on what you ate and how much.
This is why the size of the accidental intake really matters when you're thinking about the impact on your fasting goals.
And it's also worth noting that the benefits of fasting are not just about burning fat. There are other processes happening too, like cellular repair, which scientists call autophagy.
Autophagy is a fascinating process. It is basically your body cleaning itself from the inside. Old or damaged cells are broken down and recycled.
This process tends to kick in after many hours of fasting, usually somewhere between 12 and 16 hours in. A small accidental intake may slow it briefly, but will not completely eliminate it.
So again, context matters. A sip is not the same as a meal, and your body is smart enough to recover from small interruptions.
Now let us shift to religious fasting, because this is a very different kind of conversation. For many people, fasting is not just about health. It is deeply spiritual and connected to their faith.
Religious fasting is practiced across many traditions. In Islam, during Ramadan, Muslims fast from dawn to sunset, abstaining from all food and drink, including water. In Christianity, some people fast on certain days or during Lent. In Judaism, fasting is part of Yom Kippur and other holy days.
In Hinduism, Buddhism, and many other spiritual traditions, fasting is also a regular practice, and the rules can vary quite a bit depending on the tradition and the individual's interpretation.
So what happens if someone accidentally eats or drinks something during a religious fast? This is where things get more nuanced.
In Islam, for example, Islamic scholars and teachings are actually quite compassionate about accidental eating or drinking during Ramadan. If a person genuinely forgot they were fasting and ate or drank something, the fast is considered valid and continues.
That is really beautiful, actually. The intention behind the fast is considered, not just the action. If your heart and mind were committed to fasting and you simply forgot momentarily, the spiritual value of your fast is preserved.
The key word is sincere forgetfulness. The moment you remember that you were fasting, you stop eating or drinking and continue the fast. The day is not lost.
Now, in other traditions, the rules may differ. Some religious fasts require that any accidental intake, even water, means the fast needs to be restarted or made up on another day.
This is why it is always a good idea to consult with someone knowledgeable in your own tradition if you are unsure. Religious scholars, priests, or community leaders can give you clear guidance specific to your practice.
But the emotional takeaway here is universal. Across most traditions, the intention and sincerity behind fasting are deeply valued. An honest accident does not make you a bad person or a bad believer.
That is so important. I think a lot of people carry unnecessary guilt after these moments, and that guilt can actually become a bigger spiritual and emotional burden than the accidental intake itself.
Absolutely. Let us also talk about medical fasting, because this is a situation where the stakes can be a bit higher.
Medical fasting is when a doctor asks you to fast before a blood test, surgery, or a medical procedure. The reason for this is very specific and practical.
Before surgery, for example, you need to have an empty stomach because anesthesia can cause nausea. If you have food or drink in your stomach during surgery, it can lead to serious complications.
Before a blood test, eating or drinking certain things can change the results. For example, eating before a cholesterol test or a blood sugar test can make the numbers look different than your actual baseline levels.
So if you accidentally eat or drink something before a medical appointment where fasting was required, the first and most important thing you should do is tell your doctor or nurse immediately.
Do not hide it or hope no one will notice. Being honest with your medical team protects your safety and ensures that your test results are accurate.
In most cases, the appointment will simply need to be rescheduled. That can feel frustrating, but it is far better than having an inaccurate test result or a dangerous situation during a procedure.
Some blood tests are more forgiving than others. If you drank plain water, many medical professionals consider that acceptable, since water does not significantly affect most test results.
But again, always tell your medical team. Let them make the professional decision. Do not make that call yourself.
I think the broader message here is that communication is always better than silence when it comes to health. Doctors and nurses are there to help you, not judge you.
Well said. Now let us talk about the emotional and psychological side of this topic, because I think that is something that often gets overlooked.
You are so right. When someone accidentally eats or drinks during a fast, the emotional response can be really strong. Guilt, frustration, shame, and a feeling of failure are very common.
And sometimes people respond to that guilt in ways that actually make things worse. Some people think, well, I already broke my fast, so I might as well just eat whatever I want today.
That is sometimes called the what the heck effect. Once people feel they have already made a mistake, they give themselves permission to make more mistakes because the first one feels unforgivable.
It is a very human reaction, but it is also one we can learn to recognize and interrupt. The key is to treat an accidental slip with the same kindness you would offer a close friend.
Imagine if your friend called you and said, "I was fasting and I accidentally took a sip of juice." What would you say to them? You would probably say, "That's okay. Just continue your fast. Do not worry about it."
Exactly. But we so rarely talk to ourselves that way. We are often our own harshest critics. Learning to extend self-compassion in these moments is genuinely important for long-term success.
Research on behavior change actually supports this. People who are kinder to themselves after setbacks are more likely to stick with their goals over time compared to people who are very self-critical.
So when you accidentally eat or drink while fasting, practice saying something simple to yourself like, "That was accidental, I am not defined by one moment, and I am choosing to continue." That simple internal conversation can change everything.
It sounds small, but it's actually one of the most powerful tools you can develop. Resilience in any area of life, including fasting, comes from how you respond to imperfection.
Now, let us talk about some practical strategies to reduce the chances of accidentally eating or drinking while fasting, because prevention is always easier than recovery.
The first strategy is awareness. Before you start your fast, take a moment to consciously remind yourself of your fasting window. Set an alarm on your phone if needed. A simple notification that says, "Fasting begins now," can be a really helpful anchor.
That is a great idea. Another strategy is to change your environment. If you always eat breakfast at your kitchen counter, try sitting in a different spot during your fast. Disrupting your usual location can disrupt the automatic habit.
You can also remove visual triggers. If you have a fruit bowl on the table or snacks visible on the counter, put them away or cover them. Out of sight genuinely does help with out of mind.
Another helpful strategy is to keep a glass of water nearby. When you feel the urge to eat or drink out of habit, drinking water can satisfy that impulse without breaking your fast.
And it also keeps you hydrated, which is really important while fasting. Dehydration can make you feel hungrier and more irritable, which makes accidental eating even more likely.
Something else worth mentioning is telling people around you that you are fasting. When others know, they are less likely to offer you food, and you have a sense of accountability.
Social accountability is genuinely powerful. When you have told someone you are fasting, you are more mindful of your own actions because you know someone else is aware too.
And finally, give yourself some grace in the planning phase. If you know you have a social event, a birthday party, or a meal with family during your usual fasting window, adjust your schedule for that day rather than setting yourself up for an accidental slip.
Flexibility is not failure. Fasting is a tool to support your well-being, not a rigid rule that makes your life stressful. The goal is to make it work for your real life.
I love that framing. Fasting should support you, not control you. Now let us talk about hydration specifically, because there are a lot of questions around what you can and cannot drink while fasting.
Plain water is universally safe during almost all types of fasting. It doesn't trigger an insulin response, it doesn't interfere with most medical tests, and it supports your body in many ways.
Black coffee, without any sugar, milk, or sweetener, is also widely accepted during intermittent fasting. It actually has some properties that can support fat burning and reduce appetite.
Plain herbal teas with no additives are also generally considered safe. These are wonderful options if you want something warm and comforting without breaking your fast.
However, flavored water with added sugars, juices, smoothies, milk, cream, sweetened teas, and sodas all contain calories and will break your fast.
Even some zero-calorie sweeteners are debated in the fasting community. Some research suggests they may trigger a small insulin response in certain people, though the evidence is still mixed.
The safest approach, if you are doing a strict fast for health reasons, is to stick with plain water, black coffee, or plain herbal tea, and avoid everything else until your eating window opens.
And of course, if you are fasting for religious reasons, follow the specific rules of your tradition. In many religious fasts, even plain water is not permitted during the fasting hours.
Now, let us circle back to something we touched on earlier, but I want to explore a little more deeply. The idea of fasting as a mindset and not just a physical practice.
Yes, I think this is where a lot of people either find lasting success or struggle. Fasting is not just about when you eat. It is also about your relationship with food, with your body, and with discipline.
People who approach fasting with curiosity and self-awareness tend to do much better than people who approach it as a strict rule they must never break under any circumstances.
Curiosity means you ask yourself questions like, why did I reach for that food just now? Was I actually hungry, or was it boredom, stress, or habit? That kind of reflection builds real self-knowledge.
And over time, that self-knowledge makes fasting easier because you start to understand your own patterns. You know when you are most vulnerable to accidental eating, and you can prepare for those moments.
It also makes you more compassionate toward yourself because you understand that these habits developed over years, and they will not disappear overnight. Change takes time and patience.
Absolutely. And one more thing I want to mention is that fasting is not appropriate for everyone. Children, pregnant women, people with certain medical conditions, and those with a history of disordered eating should always consult a doctor before fasting.
That is a really important reminder. Fasting can be a wonderful tool for the right person in the right circumstances, but it should never be approached without considering your individual health and well-being.
If you are ever unsure whether fasting is right for you, please speak with a healthcare professional. They can give you personalized guidance that is far more valuable than any general advice.
And if you do fast, be kind to yourself throughout the process. Every day is a new opportunity to try again, to learn something, and to grow a little bit more.
I think we have covered this topic really thoroughly today. Let us do a brief and natural wrap-up of the key things we discussed.
So the first thing we talked about is why accidental eating and drinking while fasting happens. The main reason is habit. Our brains run on autopilot, and breaking a habit takes conscious effort.
We then looked at different types of fasting, including intermittent fasting for health, religious fasting, and medical fasting before tests or procedures. Each has its own context and rules.
We talked about what actually happens in the body when you accidentally consume something. A small intake causes a brief insulin response, but does not completely undo the benefits of fasting. A larger intake shifts your body into a fed state for a longer period.
We discussed religious fasting and how most traditions, including Islamic scholarship, treat sincere and accidental forgetfulness with compassion. The intention behind your fast matters deeply.
For medical fasting, the most important advice is to always tell your doctor immediately if you accidentally ate or drank something. Honesty protects your safety and your results.
We also explored the emotional side, the guilt and the what the heck effect, and why self-compassion is not just a nice idea, but actually a scientifically supported strategy for long-term success.
And we ended with practical strategies to reduce accidental eating, including setting reminders, changing your environment, removing visual triggers, staying hydrated, and building in flexibility for real-life situations.
I think the most important message of today's episode is this. One accidental moment does not define your fast, your discipline, or your character. What matters most is how you respond and what you choose to do next.
That is beautifully said, Ryan. I really hope everyone listening today walks away feeling informed, encouraged, and a little more at ease with the imperfections of the fasting journey.
Thank you so much for being here with us today. It genuinely means the world to us that you choose to spend your time with the Easy English Talk podcast.
We hope this episode was not only helpful for understanding fasting, but also a great opportunity to practice your English listening skills in a natural, comfortable way.
If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave a comment, give us a like, and share this with someone who might find it helpful. Your support helps us reach more learners around the world.
And before you go, we just want to let you know that there are many more helpful and interesting episodes waiting for you on the Easy English Talk podcast channel.
Whether you want to improve your English, learn about health, explore life topics, or simply enjoy a calm and clear conversation, there's an episode there for you.
So take a look, explore, and keep listening. Every episode is another step forward in your English journey.
Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and be kind to yourself. We will see you in the next episode.
Take care, everyone. Bye for now.